Wow. I am humbled and amazed and appreciative of all of you sharing your words and stories with us. And it's such an honor to be in this room with all of you and just the gratitude that I have for being a part of this community and for you all being a part of this community. The people in this room, many of you that I've collaborated with this year, looking at some of you, and also that this community has been a part of my healing journey. That last year was really hard. When I stood up here and spoke, it was the end of multiple organizational traumas, and that it has been and continues to be a healing journey, and all of that healing that I've done and need to continue to do has been possible because of each and every one of you. So thank you so much. So I'm going to similarly heed the call of sharing what's happened over the last year and how to fit that in 8 minutes. I'm not totally sure how to do that, but I got a little bit of a head start with these poster projects. It's the first time I do a poster project since 2007, so went ahead and did it, and then couldn't really fit everything on there that happened, so I had to pick and choose. But yeah, the Student Debt Co-op, we launched a big campaign to really increase our reach and our impact, and that's and to really unpack and do the strategy work that underlies what is needed to drive impact and change. And so we've been in that dialogue internally and have increased our membership. That wouldn't have been possible without being liberated to do this work for the people. I also joined with a woman of color as a co-president of E3 Washington, which is a statewide environmental and sustainability education association that has representatives from the state office of the superintendent of public instruction on the board. And a lot of really hard stuff comes up because essentially we have, some two pretty radical social justice activists on the, at the lead of a historically white-led organization that is honestly pretty traditional and pretty historically led by conservationists and this sort of thing. And so that has been a journey that would not have been possible to support another woman of color in co-leadership of this organization and to demand the accountability of other board members who have all stepped up into that space that we've created. I've also have been involved with the Seattle Youth Climate Action Network. On Whidbey Island, there's the Trudy Sundberg lecture series that is also related to education and bringing featured speakers to Whidbey Island and how to have the conversation about who gets a voice, who is brought forward in the conversation. And so we have a woman of color, Mona Atisha Hannah Atisha from Flint, Michigan, coming to speak, and that conversation was many months in the making. I've done a number of speaking engagements and then recently have been called to support youth on Whidbey Island in Fridays for Future. So at the Global Climate Strike, we had two simultaneous actions. There was one in Freeland with 150 folks that was youth-led, and then another one a couple hours later. So we scurried up to Central Whidbey, and there were over 200 people there, and all of them had a huge youth turnout. And since then, the two youth that I'm mentoring from South Whidbey High School have made a personal commitment to show up every single week. And I go, okay, you want to show up every week? I will be there also. I guess I just added a whole nother campaign. And they were, having a hard time paying for just printing or, getting some things done. And so some folks in this room and folks on Whidbey Island, about 8 of us raised approximately $400 for their social justice club. And really, not necessarily the money that was important, but it was a message to the young leadership and the new social justice club that consists of 40 youth at the South Whidbey High School to show them that the community has their back. So we're building up now for November 29th, which is the next global climate strike and calling. I see some Whidbey Island folks here. Looking forward to everyone's participation and really throwing down some big mass actions on Whidbey Island. And the youth have chosen to really focus on, it's a little bit of a departure from the global climate strike, which is focusing on like town halls and parliaments and whatnot. These youth are really concerned about the financing of extreme fossil fuels by Chase and Wells Fargo, two banks that are on Whidbey Island that might as well just leave. So that's their demand. Also in January, we learned that Patriot Prayer was organizing a rally in our community, and a lot of community members were very concerned about that, and I was asked to get involved. And I go, yeah, I'm already busy. I don't want to like get involved in another thing. All right, I'll do it. So pulled together a bunch of folks who were interested in that, and folks in the room really helped to put a letter to the editor down and a messaging guide and talking points and push that out into the community to develop some analysis, and then started organizing meetings and bringing a coalition together. While we were organizing against alt-right militia groups, and we're partnering with the Western States Center, which have been amazing allies to us in our work, we found out that the South Whidbey High School and the South Whidbey School District were complicit in rape culture, overt racism, and homophobia as three of many dynamics, and doing all kinds of horrific things. Teachers, administrators, school board members, and so we actually pivoted from confronting the alt-right militia groups to holding the school accountable. And we ended up writing a letter to the superintendent, calling her in, and then subsequently have been organizing pretty much the rest of the year, and even recently supporting, we're not wearing my For the People hat, but supporting a candidate to replace the board president, which was successful on Tuesday. So rapid and just climate action is the centerpiece of my work. So all this other work is solidarity and needing and wanting to show up. But in the rapid and just climate action comes from there being too much science and impacts, too much conversation about science and impacts, and not enough conversation about action. And that people I was meeting every day had no idea what to do. It's like, hey, I want to take action, but I don't actually know what to do. And I was like, well, there's thousands of things you could be doing. But when I tried to explain it, it wasn't really coming clear. And then that the nonprofit industrial complex, the mainstream environmental movement, the climate and clean energy movement, or organizations really had this top-down approach of negotiating with utilities and negotiating with big business, and working within large political parties to attempt to create change without actually bringing the grassroots along, without actually engaging in communities and supporting communities, and rather just throw them under the bus. So that's the genesis of rapid and just climate action. And working with Zarna, working with a couple other folks, we wrote a call for action document. You can grab a copy. I see some of you already have. I ended up getting the opportunity to speak in Olympia in front of an audience of 300-400 people, and use that opportunity to call out a number of issues. And I met Stuart Henderson, who's standing back here. Stuart, would you be willing to stand up? Stuart is really, he came up to me and said, I've been looking for what you're talking about. I want to work with you. I want to stand with you. I want to be what can we do together? And I said, and he shared some of his background. I said, let's team up. And so pretty much since April, we've been meeting every single week to put together the rapid and just climate action, and in particular the 90-day climate action teams, which are really designed to do more than change light bulbs or recycle, and or sign an online petition, but less than requiring people to become lifelong activists, although we would want them to be. But some people have, they're going to graduate school, or they're pregnant, or they're going to be moving, and so 90 days is a window that people can get committed to. So we launched in Seattle, Whidbey Island, and then just a couple weeks ago, 3 teams on Whidbey in Olympia. So it's really been a journey of creating an accountable, connected, and responsible movement. And there's so much more to share, but I'm out of time. So thank you so much. It's been a privilege.